Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. I have with me in the studio the well-shaded Vicky Poole, and here I am, also shaded. And today's topic, throwing shade. Who are we throwing shade at?
We are talking today about the shade in public sector sales. Of all things, my favorite topic. I love it. Public sector sales, but there is some serious shade going on behind. And this will be my son who's streaming his favorite CBBB's program right now, nicking all the bandwidth.
So guys, cope with it because if you hang around, you're going to get some. Yeah. I can't carry on doing this. Sorry, I can't see you at all. All right. Why have you chosen to throw shade at this time, Vicky Poole?
So I've been approached by 3 independent councils, nothing to do with West Berkshire Council, and they're asking me about whether or not things like this are normal. At this point, my interest is intrigued. Right? What's normal? What's going on? What are we talking about? So you have suppliers who have applied to a framework, agreed the terms and conditions of that framework, and then before they've even signed the contract, they're saying, oh, well, actually, we don't like that bit. We don't like this bit. And can we change that? And right. The councils are saying, is this normal? And how well do the other suppliers know about what that means? To which I replied, well, if anyone's working with me, they're going to know the ins and outs because I know the process.
Of course you do.
Why you'll know the ins and outs. Trying to negotiate
up front
contracts.
Sorry.
I think we have a lag. Sorry, Gareth. It's probably at my end. So when you're trying to negotiate contracts after award, particularly if you're on a framework, technically that means that your bid's non-compliant, and should any of the suppliers who have been unsuccessful get wind of that, they can force the re-procurement again. Now, I may or may not have done that particular thing once or twice before to force the procurement to come back out. Because I know what the winning bid was now. I can come in under the price, under the value. I can disrupt the bid. Of course, everyone's going to want to play that card. The interesting piece comes is when you have multiple suppliers on the same framework who pull the same tactics. There's one council in particular in the north who's been trying to procure something now for over 12 months, had 3 procurement exercises, and it still haven't been able to be awarded. Shade. I'm throwing the shade. Channeling my...
So is there anything we can do to try and prevent it?
What can you do to avoid throwing shade? Is there anything you can do to try and avoid the shade? I won't be naming names, but you dirty suppliers, you know who you are. What can you do to avoid it? Well, it's agreeing to the terms and conditions. If you are in agreement with the conditions of the framework, you are just agree to them. If you're not, you have to ask during the clarification process what elements of the contract you find disagreeable. And it may mean that is done as a specific contract change that's then offered to all suppliers, which may benefit more than just yourself. So you have to be mindful of that. Once a contract is live, you then honour all the agreements in there and try not to force through contract changes that fit your purpose and not the council's, because that's another way where you can force shade. Now, if you are one of those suppliers where you think or you've seen your procurement come out a few times before, you can ask the questions that you're asking because the devil's in the details. And then from there, you can be mindful of what your competition are playing with in the market, because this provides an insight in a lot of ways to what it's going to be like working with them over the contract term, which may or may not influence how you choose to respond to your bids in future. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does appear to be skating around the edge of legality.
Yeah, but you'll often find this skating in lots of other areas as well. So another one is grants. So,
right.
I mean, when you're applying to a grant, people think that when you're applying to any grant, so for example, there's quite a lot at the moment on social community projects, putting in defibrillators, seats, bins next to bus stops, all that kind of wonderful stuff, as well as providing support for young people, mental health support, life skills, training. And people go, oh, well, my business is in writing tenders. I can apply for one of these. And then they get really, really disheartened when their bid's rejected or when their grant application's rejected, because you're looking for the wrong kind of grant. So you're wasting your own time trying to shoehorn what you want to do into a grant because you're able to get money from it potentially to meet that socio-economic goal. So the piece there is look for the right grant, look for the right small print, look for the right contract.
All
because
right.
when you've got the right contract and it's qualified and it's right for you, then you have more chance of winning it. So not every business, not every charity, not every organization is going to be suitable for every grant out there. And it's about finding the right ones. There are lots of grants that are shaped in different ways for different people. In the same way, there are lots of procurement frameworks that are shaped in different ways for different purchase sizes. You've got to be in the right place.
So I suppose part of your skill set is knowing which framework and which opportunity will be the right match, will be the right fit.
Yes, absolutely. So within our grants, we can do grant searches. We can pull out all the relevant grants, and then they're kind of like graded on a suitability matrix. So we usually only take, if you were 90 to 95%, that's your grant. Anything under that, you're pretty much, you're like waving a finger in the air. When it comes to bids and when it comes to procurements, we can say how things were previously purchased. We can never say how, like, definitively how things are going to be purchased in the future. So we have a fantastic analytics suite where you can have access to raw data, or you can have like data constantly updated, where you can see what all of the procurements are coming up. And this goes down to framework. So I can tell you if a supplier is looking to procure from a social media and marketing framework rather than coming out direct.
Right.
Whether or not they're looking to do 6 months of social media and they're going to procure that through low value procurements rather than any other kind of procurement or any other framework. So I can see that.
All right. I mean, I've got a client who, for instance, who provides support for youngsters who are looking to get into work, specifically about money management. Now, where would I drive her?
Where would you drive her? So there are, well, firstly and foremost, have a look at the local council. The local council is part of their children's services. They have a lot of community development in there, and there's usually 1 or 2 grants there about life skills. There'll be lots in there about money management, I would imagine, given the cause of the collapse back in, I'm going to go for 2010. Was it 2010, the collapse, 2009? And where people had borrowed too much money because they didn't know that they need to pay it back. So you'll find a lot of emphasis these days on money management. That'll be an option. And what you're looking for there is grants for delivering training courses or delivering awareness to particular groups of people. Now, those people are most likely going to be vulnerable and they're going to be disadvantaged and of low attainment. And that's where I would go for those grants. If you type in your local council and click grants, so like West Berkshire Council grants, you get the list of grants that's available on their website. And if you can't find it, I believe it's the commerce portfolio holder who will be the best person to go. Well, there'll be, depending on the structure of the council, there'll be lots of different people. Here in West Berkshire, if you can't find a suitable grant or you've got questions about it, I would go to Louise Sturgis, who's amazing. She's got so many grants and she goes out and finds them as well. I would be chatting her up to see.
Louise who?
Sturgis from West Berkshire.
See, what I did there, ladies and gentlemen, was I just took out a hypothetical and threw it at Vicky, and instantly you've got a whole bunch of ideas and directions you could go to help them out on the grant side. So it's not just tenders that Vicky and her team are really good at finding, but also keeping on top of grants. And as she says, you know, depending on what you're doing and depending on what the focus is of that local council, you may find them directly by looking on their website. Now, where does your grant support come in, Vicky?
Yeah, so it's fantastic to just be able to look at things on their website. When you find a grant, though, that's when the real fun begins. Because when you find opportunity, that's when the real fun begins. Because you have to qualify it, make sure it's right, and then put together a winning response. Now, when you're responding to bids and contracts, there's only one supplier. He gets to win that contract. Whereas when you're responding to grants, there will be multiple people awarded that contract or awarded money from that grant pot. And the way that things work is there is a pot of money, for example, 100 grand, and that's available to achieve certain goals. And your response is all about how you achieve those goals and why people need to support you over somebody else. That I've been reviewing a lot of grants recently as of the team, and we get the same questions asked every time. So what we've done, sorry, Gareth, I don't know if this is on the cards for today. What we've done is we're hosting a grant writing webinar on the 14th of August. It's 11 o'clock to 11:30 British Summer Time. And it's all about the things that you can do to write a grant response that's going to give you the best possible chance of being awarded the money. It's free to register. If you hop on our website, go to resources and webinars, you'll be able to see it. It's there. There are going to be more webinars posted in the coming weeks, but childcare and summer holidays that haven't gone up yet. So they are there. Oh, and as if by magic, Gareth has the link. So it's resources and then into webinars. It's like I'm paying for this.
So also, don't forget that if you've got off-the-cuff questions that perhaps just need a quick course correct or an idea or whatever, so you might want to just to send a message through to the WhatsApp number 07896 909 776. 07896 909 776. Need its own jingle, really. And once you are sending that message through, she will either point you in the direction of the resource or suggest that you have a further conversation whereby you'll be able to work out perhaps a way forward, perhaps even an initial engagement. But certainly, Vicky is a font of knowledge both on grant applications and, of course, responding to tenders. Before we sign off, Vicky, can you just summarize this whole throwing of shade business, please?
Throwing of shade. Oh God, summarize that, blimey. So when you're throwing shade, you have to know what tactics that your suppliers are playing in your market, where they're playing, where they're winning their contracts, and the discussion process that they are having in order to get that contract signed. Now, when you're aware of that, the only way to mitigate that from ever happening in the first place is to not throw shade, agree the terms, and allow the contracts to flow naturally and smoothly.
That is, of course, the ideal. I want to thank Vicky Poole for once again shining a light in areas where shade only lies, and also to all of you for tuning in dutifully. Hopefully next week we'll have a much more solid internet connection. But until then, I wish you all to keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and wear some sunscreen, for God's sakes. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye now.